at all-time highs. And then one day they said, you got to close it up. And we did the right thing. We saved maybe millions of lives by doing it the way we did it. But we're paying a price, but that price is very unimportant compared to the number of lives we're talking about. The NIH and others are conducting clinical trials of 35 different therapies and treatments. Therapies being so exciting to me, because that's really like, if something happens, you're going to get better reasonably quickly, and without such a horrible deal as some people have to go through. To that end, today NIH announced that it is launching a public-private partnership with more than a dozen biopharmaceutical companies. They're HHS, FDA, CDC, and the European Medicines Agency. They're all working together. We're working together with a lot of other countries.
Hello, mọi người có nghe rõ không? Tổng thống đang họp báo ở Nhà Trắng.
Authorities of more than a dozen organizations and agencies to accelerate development of the most promising therapies and vaccines. The vaccines are coming along really well.
Chào bạn Thanh Long Huỳnh.
Is very well advanced. One thing is they have to
có nghe rõ cho biết nhé.
Great success, but we have to test them, and it takes a long period of time. It takes probably over a year, unfortunately, but therapies likewise are coming along very, very well. Therapies are immediate. When we get that, that'll be a big day. We're also equipping our medical warriors on the front lines in total. We have the Project Air Bridge, and the Air Bridge has been incredible. The National Strategic Stockpile and every other channel the federal government is deployed.
Chào bạn Hùng Nguyễn. Tổng thống Trump đang báo cáo những cái tình hình cập nhật của việc cái tình hình COVID-19 ở Mỹ.
500 million masks coming in very soon between manufacturing and orders.
Ông nói rằng là sẽ có 500 triệu khẩu trang sẽ tới, sắp sửa tới. Ông nói rằng là cái kẻ thù vô hình này hết sức là khó chịu và ác độc. Tôi đã từng nói về cái ánh sáng cuối đường hầm. Và bây giờ nó đã bắt đầu xảy ra. Tôi cảm ơn tất cả mọi người. Tôi sẽ giới thiệu ông Phó Tổng thống để ông nói chuyện. Sau đó sẽ nhận một số câu hỏi. Ông Phó Tổng thống sẽ nói về cái vấn đề xét nghiệm, khả năng xét nghiệm. Bạn Quang Vũ nghe không rõ nhưng những người khác lại nghe rõ. Bạn xem lại cái hệ thống của mình nha. Xin chào mọi người, buổi chiều. Như là Tổng thống vừa mới nói về cái thời gian rất là thử thách đối với lại cái đất nước của chúng ta. Với những cái làm việc chung với lại các tiểu bang thì bây giờ chúng ta đã bắt đầu cải thiện được cái tình hình. Chào bạn Đức Lập Lê, không biết bạn nghe rõ hay không? Chúng ta ngày càng thấy những cái trường hợp lây nhiễm mới càng giảm đi. Và kể cả vào nhà thương cũng giảm nữa. New York, New Orleans, Detroit. Tất cả những cái nhân viên y tế đi là ở phía trước mặt trận. Chúng ta đã thực tập, chúng ta đã làm những cái chuyện mà gọi là theo hướng dẫn, cách ly vân vân. Và hy vọng là tất cả mọi người Hoa Kỳ sẽ nhìn thấy cái tiến triển của chúng ta.
The President approved a major disaster declaration for America and Samoa, and now all 50 states and all territories are under major disaster declarations for the first time in American history. At this present moment, 33,000 National Guardsmen are on duty.
Hiện nay thì có 30.000 chiến sĩ đang ra
including 716 medical professionals, doctors and nurses who deployed out.
Trong đó có 7.000 mấy những người mà trong y tế.
Hospitals in New York City, and military personnel were also serving today in hospitals in Connecticut, Texas, Louisiana, and New Jersey. Yesterday, as the president reflected,
ngày hôm qua ông tổng thống đã nói đó, cái hướng dẫn để mà có thể mở nước Mỹ trở lại. Đó là những cái thông tin mà để hướng dẫn cho các tiểu bang.
The most important state responsibilities to have in place before moving into a
là đó, với cái hướng dẫn đó hy vọng là tất cả các tiểu bang sẽ dựa theo để mà có thể mở.
Day period of time and ensure that they have proper capacity in their healthcare facilities could move to phase 1.
Hy vọng là coi như là với cái hướng dẫn như vậy thì họ sẽ có đầy đủ những cái chuẩn bị trước khi bắt đầu vào cái giai đoạn 1 của việc mở cửa. Trước hết là phải bảo vệ những người mà gọi là có khả năng bị lây nhiễm cao. Chúng tôi cũng khuyến khích các tiểu bang là xét nghiệm những người nào mà có khả năng lây nhiễm mà không biết đó, với lại những người nào bị có khả năng lây nhiễm nhiều. Chúng tôi sẽ trợ giúp họ. Chính phủ chúng tôi sẽ làm việc với lại các thống đốc tiểu bang trên toàn quốc để mà có thể mở cửa một cách là an toàn. Tất cả những cái vật liệu y tế đã được phân phát các tiểu bang cần.
As of April 16th, as the president reflected briefly, FEMA has coordinated the delivery of millions of pieces of medical equipment, including
Ông tổng thống đã nói từ hôm 16 tháng 4 là đã làm việc với lại cái FEMA, tức là bộ cấp cứu quốc gia, để mà phân phát ra các cái vật liệu y tế. Về khả năng xét nghiệm, chúng tôi làm việc với lại các tiểu bang trên toàn quốc.
President Trump made efforts to essentially reinvent testing in America. The traditional testing in this country that takes place at CDC or at
với cái tình trạng đại dịch như thế này thì tổng thống đã coi như là có thể là cải tạo lại cái hệ thống mà xét nghiệm ở Hoa Kỳ hồi xưa thì phải tập trung, bây giờ là bắt đầu đã mở rộng ra. Bây giờ tất cả những cái
6 weeks ago, we had performed some 25,000 tests, and at this day, we have performed 3.7 million tests.
6 tuần trước chúng ta chỉ có 25.000 cái ca xét nghiệm thôi, mà bây giờ là chúng ta đã có tới 3.7 triệu xét nghiệm rồi. Chúng tôi làm việc coi như là làm với các bác sĩ là làm coi như là suốt ngày giờ. Chúng tôi coi như là đã kích hoạt tất cả những cái phòng xét nghiệm trên toàn quốc rồi. Tôi đã coi như là hỗ trợ cho những cái cách mà xét nghiệm mới nữa.
working on an antibody test that literally could add 20 million new tests to our supply even before the
Bạn Lộc Lê thì nghe được nhưng mà nhiều người không nghe được. Sorry bạn nha. Chắc nếu mà bạn nghe được thì có thể bạn mở những cái kênh hiện nó chỉ nói toàn tiếng Anh không thì nó dễ hơn.
But as you'll hear from all of our experts tonight, our best scientists and health experts assess that states today have enough tests to implement the criteria of phase 1 if they choose to do so.
Hiện nay thì coi như tất cả các tiểu bang đều có đủ cái xét nghiệm để mà có thể bước đầu vào cái giai đoạn 1 để mở lại đất nước Mỹ nếu mà họ muốn. States that meet the criteria for going into phase 1 and then are preparing the testing that is contemplated by going to phase 1. Our best scientists and health experts assess that today we have a sufficient amount of testing to meet the requirements of a phase 1 reopening. Cho tới nay thì chúng ta là có đầy đủ những bộ xét nghiệm để mà có thể bước vào cái giai đoạn 1.
At the President's direction, we're going to be presenting an outline of our approach to testing in partnership with states during this briefing. Our approach will continue to be locally executed, state managed and federally supported. Dr. Fauci will give us a brief introduction to the overall approach to testing that is contemplated to deal with the coronavirus. Dr. Redfield of CDC,
Bác sĩ Fauci sẽ nói về cái vấn đề xét nghiệm như thế nào để bước vào cái giai đoạn mở cửa nước Mỹ.
Coronavirus incidents that occur in every state in the union. First, Dr. Deborah Birx will describe not only our tests, but also the current capability and the capability that we could expand to very readily. And Admiral Gerard of the U.S. Public Health Service will summarize.
Admiral, cũng sẽ nói chuyện.
At the President's direction, we are going to continue to work every single day.
Chúng tôi sẽ làm việc tất cả mỗi ngày để mà chuẩn bị cho cái việc mà mở cửa trở lại, để bảo đảm là tất cả các tiểu bang đều có đủ cái tài nguyên để mà làm cái chuyện đó, mở cửa một cách an toàn và có trách nhiệm. Mời ông Fauci. Xin cảm ơn ông Phó Tổng thống. Tôi sẽ trình bày những cái điều mà giống như là sẽ trả lời cho những cái câu hỏi mà tôi đã nhận được trong mấy ngày hôm nay. Tôi mới có cuộc gặp và họ hỏi rất là nhiều. Một trong những câu hỏi là vừa mới hỏi đó, tức là có đủ xét nghiệm không? Có đủ cái bộ xét nghiệm để mà bảo đảm không? Tôi muốn có một vài phút để cung cấp một cái câu trả lời tổng quát. Sau đó cái người đồng nghiệp của tôi sẽ tiếp tục. Trước hết tôi muốn nói điều này, nếu mà có gì nó có lặp lại thì xin lỗi. Có hai cái loại xét nghiệm. Một là xét nghiệm để biết là cái người đó thực sự là có bị nhiễm hay không. Và cái cách xét nghiệm thứ hai là để xét nghiệm là cái người đó có đã từng bị nhiễm hay không. We need to do some more work on that person is actually protected against subsequent exposure and infection with an identical organism. So what are some of the pluses and minuses of each? Because cái điểm lợi và điểm hại của mỗi cái test là như thế nào? Mỗi cái xét nghiệm là như thế nào? How the test actually should be used. So let's take the test for whether or not you're infected. Và bây giờ nói về cái thử nghiệm mà là anh có bị nhiễm hay không.
nucleic acid test. It's not an easy test to do.
Nó không phải là một cái xét nghiệm dễ dàng để làm.
There are some that have a high throughput. There are different groups within that. The good news about that is that it's a sensitive and specific test, so that if you're infected, you know you're infected, so that, as I'll get to in a moment, if you need to do something with that, get that person, put them in care, take care of them, get them out of circulation, that's important.
Cái xét nghiệm này thì nó khó, nhưng mà điều là cái này rất là hay là nó nói một cách rất rõ ràng là người đó có thực sự có bị hay không, để em có thể làm được cái điều gì cho người đó thì làm. Thí dụ như tôi là ngày hôm nay tôi sao? Thí dụ như tôi là negative, tức là tôi âm tính.
As you get exposed, perhaps from someone who may not even know they're infected, that means that I'm negative, which means if you take that to its extreme, in order to be really sure, you would almost have to test somebody either every day or every other day or every week or what it is to be absolutely certain. That's an issue. Now, the problem that I
ông nói xét nghiệm như vậy, nhưng mà muốn chắc chắn 100% là không có lây nhiễm, không có dương tính đó, thì là phải xét nghiệm không lẽ là hàng ngày hay là mỗi cách ngày.
I'm, as think most people know, have been involved in HIV/AIDS for 38 years, 39 years.
Tôi đã từng là làm việc với lại bệnh SIDA trong thời gian trước đây.
If you get a test for HIV and you are negative and you do not practice any risk behaviors, you can be guaranteed that next month, 6 months.
Ông so sánh với lại bệnh SIDA đó, nếu mà đã xét nghiệm là âm tính đó, mà không có làm cái gì bậy bạ nữa đó, thì sẽ không có bị nữa.
Clearly a place for needing to test somebody for a given reason. A test means you're negative now. The other test is an antibody test. A test that tells you, in fact, that you've been infected. That's really good. You're going to hear a bit about that from
cái xét nghiệm khác là cái xét nghiệm antibody, kháng thể.
Broader view of two things. One, what the penetrance of the infection had been. And number two, you can make an assumption, though we still need to prove that. I mean, we're assuming that if you're infected and you have antibody, you're protected. And I think that's a reasonable assumption based on.
Cái xét nghiệm này cho biết là người đó đã từng bị hay không, và đã từng bị và đã được khỏi chưa, và có kháng thể hay không.
What is the titer that is protective? How long is the protection? Is it 1 month? Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? It's a year. So we need to be humble and modest that we don't know everything about it, but it really is an important test. The other thing is the difference between testing and monitoring out there, what's out there. The difference between what we really need it for phase 1 is to be able to identify, isolate, contact trace, a very important part of when you're pulling back gradually and slowly on the mitigation, and you have people who might be infected. You want to know they're infected. You want to put them in care. That is something that we absolutely need to do. But there are other ways. I want to make sure people understand that, not to underestimate the importance of testing. Testing is an important part of a multifaceted way that we are going to control and ultimately end this outbreak.
Ông nói rằng là cái quan trọng của cái xét nghiệm rất là quan trọng trong cái việc mà là quay trở lại mở nước Mỹ, cũng như là vấn đề mà là ngưng được ngăn chặn được cái đại dịch này. Và đây thêm một vài phút nữa. Không nghi ngờ gì là trước đây là chúng ta đã có vấn đề.
There was a problem that had to be corrected, and it was corrected. It was a problem that was a technical problem.
Chúng ta đã có những cái vấn đề, quá nhiều vấn đề mà để phải sửa chữa.
The way we have now and should have. The private sector, who clearly has the capability of making and providing tests at the level that we will need them for any of the things that I've just spoken about. So, having said that, right now, I totally understand, and I'm allowed to.
Tôi thì bây giờ
that
Giờ thì
although we say there are X number of tests out there,
tôi nghĩ
and
rằng
you hear
là
from Admiral Giroir about that, the fact is there have been and still are situations that are correctable and will be corrected, and some of which have been corrected. I know I get on the phone a lot with my colleagues.
tôi phải lên nói chuyện điện thoại với lại những người đồng nghiệp rất là nhiều.
Some time ago, I was where they are in the hospitals, in the emergency room, looking at very sick individuals that you need to take care of. And I know what it means when someone tells you, hey, you have what you need, and you look around and you say, well, maybe you think I have what I need, but I don't really have what I need. So we have to figure out, how do we close that gap? And there are a lot of things that I think we've learned and that we are correcting and going to correct. Namely, you have a situation where tests are needed and appropriate, and either people have found there's no tests, or there's no reagents, or there's no swabs, or a person needed a test and were told that there was a restriction, they couldn't get a test. These are all the things that I'm telling you, you already know because you've heard them. So right now, or there's a delay of 5 to 7 days. And what does that mean if you want to get somebody out of circulation? We understand that existed, but upon careful examination, what you are going to hear, that many of those have been already corrected, and other of those will be corrected. Because what I think people don't appreciate through no fault of their own is that there are two issues. There's supply and demand. And if you have a supply that can meet the demand, but the supply is not connected to demand.
Ông đang nói tới cái vấn đề trước đây có nhiều cái lộn xộn đó, tức là nếu mà có đủ tiềm năng và có đủ nhu cầu, nhưng mà hai cái đó không có nối kết được với nhau thì là vấn đề.
Maybe has not been fully communicated as to the availability of that existing capacity, and you're going to hear about that now.
Có thể là chúng ta đã không có thông tin nói chuyện với nhau một cách hữu hiệu ngay từ đầu.
And that's what we're talking about, because for what we need now, we believe that with better communications, we'll be able to make that happen.
Chúng ta tin rằng là với bây giờ thì với cái việc mà gọi là đối thoại với nhau một cách hữu hiệu hơn thì chúng ta sẽ giải quyết được cái vấn đề.
We will have, and there will be enough tests to allow us to take this country safely through phase 1.
Nếu mà thì bây giờ tôi nói rằng là chúng ta có khả năng đầy đủ cái xét nghiệm để mà có thể đưa cái đất nước trở lại, mở cửa cái giai đoạn đầu. Ông Admiral này nói chuyện.
CDC has developed multiple systems to monitor disease outbreaks. I think many of you are familiar.
Ông nói là cái tổ chức CDC của tổ chức phòng ngừa dịch bệnh của Mỹ đó đã tạo ra rất là nhiều cái hệ thống để mà có thể kiểm tra.
We've also developed a system to monitor for upper respiratory tract disease. If I can get the first slide there. This is an example because when we talk about what we know about this current pandemic, the reality is we know a lot because we've developed these monitoring systems. Up on the slide is a system that we've developed initially for flu. And what it does is you can see there's a multiple different flu seasons and they track them over the course of
Đây là cái sơ đồ mà họ đã tạo ra cho nhiều cái mùa dịch cúm trước đây.
And that happens to be this year's respiratory season. Và cái mùa này đó là cái màu đỏ đó, nó cũng đi theo cái con đường khá là tương tự như vậy. And that peak was when we actually had a peak of influenza B. This year was a little different because after that, viral syndrome came down, and you can see it, that actually we had another peak, and that's when influenza A was active through our country. And you can see influenza A started to drop, then you saw a third peak. That peak was, you were looking at the coronavirus 19. So we have systems all the way down to the county level that we can see where there's respiratory tract illness. And so it's not just taking a test, it's monitoring these systems that have been developed over decades.
Không chỉ là xét nghiệm mà còn có cả theo dõi cái vấn đề này nữa.
Looking at syndrome diagnosis, and they show the same thing. So we're well equipped to monitor to see when respiratory tract viral disease will come, and becomes a very good surrogate for when you can begin to understand that we need to start looking more etiologically about what's going on. You can see now in week 15, we're really coming down to the baseline background in terms of our flu surveillance system from the overall coronavirus situation right now. The second thing I wanted to say is that CDC continues to enhance the state's public health capacity to accelerate their ability, as Tony talked about.
Ông nói rằng là CDC cũng đang
Open America again, to diagnose
trợ giúp với lại
individuals that present with
tiểu bang để mà mở cái cửa lại đất nước lại.
Or coronavirus-like illness, to diagnose them, be able to isolate them, and to be able to contact trace around them, and then diagnose the contacts, and those that are coronavirus positive, to go back and do their contacts. This is the traditional public health approach, which was started in this outbreak in January and February, and was quite successful. And as I mentioned before, through February 27th, this country only had 14 cases. We did that isolation and that contact tracing, and it was very successful. But then when the virus more exploded, got beyond the public health capacity. But right now CDC is enhancing that public health capacity.
Cái hệ thống kiểm tra và kiểm tra qua cái contact đó là từ hồi tháng Giêng, 27 tháng Giêng thì chỉ có 14 người và thì đã làm rất là tốt trong cái việc mà kiểm tra, nhưng mà sau này bị bùng nổ rồi.
More than 500 individuals. We also have an additional almost 100 individuals that are working on more than 20 coronavirus outbreaks that are going through all these states.
Đây là số lượng mà con số của cái tổ chức này để đưa ở mới tiểu bang để mà làm việc.
And we assist them so they can operationalize the president's guidelines to open up America again. So I just wanted to make those points for you today. Thank you. Dr. Burks?
Bác sĩ Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and thank you, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Redfield.
Cảm ơn bác sĩ, cảm ơn ông Phó Tổng thống.
I'm going to go back to what Dr. Fauci was talking about just to emphasize.
Tôi muốn quay lại cái câu mà bác sĩ Fauci nói về cái vấn đề xét nghiệm. Những cái cách xét nghiệm.
To all of the labs out there and to the providers, you don't have to use the nasal pharyngeal swab anymore. You can do front of nose sampling. And again, as Dr. Fauci talked about, that is sampling for the virus itself that replicates in your nose and, as we know, throughout some of the respiratory tissues. The second test is, of course, then your immune response to that infection that's in your nose. And so that's the antibody test. And so those are the two tests we want to talk about. But I want to come back to something that both Dr. Fauci and Dr. Redfield said, and we covered yesterday. Testing is a part
Bà đang nói về hai cái loại xét nghiệm khác nhau thôi.
In partnership with CDC and state and local governments, utilizing the surveillance
làm việc với CDC và coi như là chính phủ địa phương.
Surveillance system because we no longer have flu, and the syndromic respiratory system that is across the United States, and you can see it's going back to baseline so that we'll be able to see at the community level any deviation from that baseline. In addition, what we talked about yesterday was adding that asymptomatic component, because I think you'll see as more and more articles come out for surveillance and monitoring that other states have done, higher and higher antibody in multiple individuals who don't remember having a sickness. And that will give us an idea. That's our asymptomatic monitoring in these sentinel monitoring sites. And what did we talk about yesterday? We talked about nursing homes, we talked about indigenous people, and we talked about vulnerable people in the inner city, really ensuring that something that is so small that can't even be seen on the surveillance monitoring will be able to be seen in the asymptomatic. And so those are the two tests that we have, one available now, two that have been approved, or three by the FDA. I want to just
Trong hai cái
leave
xét
you
nghiệm
with
thì
my
một cái
last
đã được chuẩn
concept
thuận, một
on
cái
the
thì đang sắp sửa được
antibody
chuẩn thuận.
tests. Antibody tests have different specificity and sensitivities.
Cái antibody, cái kháng thể, xét kháng thể thì nó có cái độ nhạy khác.
About the antibody test, because I know you see reports every day of countries that have ordered the antibody test and found that they were 50, 60, 70% faulty.
Các vị chắc cũng đã từng nghe qua tin tức là có những cái đất nước mà là nhập khẩu các loại xét nghiệm đó, rồi xong rồi cuối cùng cả 5, 6, 70, 80% là không có sức chính xác. Chắc bà muốn nói tới nước Ý với lại Czech Republic đã nhập ở bên Trung Quốc á.
So we want to work with mayors around the United States as those antibody tests become available to really see what it is in first responders and healthcare workers.
Tôi muốn làm việc với các thị trưởng của các thành phố trên toàn nước Mỹ để coi thấy cái kết quả của cái chuyện mà thử nghiệm, xét nghiệm kháng thể nó như thế nào.
I've learned this lesson repeatedly in working around the globe. The next slide. So this is what we have asked commercial and diagnostic companies
Đó, bây giờ bà mới giới thiệu cái bộ xét nghiệm này.
Talk about multi-millions worth of tests. The way we do this in the United States today for strep, for influenza, and for malaria is we test for the antigen.
Cái xét nghiệm này là xét nghiệm cái nhân tố kháng thể.
And so that is the question that scientists and companies are working on right now, because that becomes a simpler test. Now the flu test, I think many of you will look it up tonight. You will see that outside of the flu season, because of the specificity of the test, it doesn't work so well. So these are tests we're working on today that would be like a screening test, because if you're positive on it, it's a good test. But it may miss that you actually have the flu. So then you would move into what we call the nucleic acid test. So we're trying to build an algorithm of tests that bring the full talent of the science of the United States into the reality of the clinic. And so bench to clinic. And so this is what we're working on for the future. Next slide. So as I promised both the senators and the governors, this is the United States' current platform capacity. Designated as high and low throughput, and what do I mean by that?
Đây là cái bản đồ mà cho thấy những cái khả năng mà xét nghiệm, những cái phòng xét nghiệm ở trên toàn nước Mỹ.
And then we've talked about the gene expert and other machines that may be moderate to lower throughput. I want you to see how it's distributed through the United States. So these are the current testing platforms available today throughout the United States for COVID-19. And as you heard from Dr. Fauci, everything has to be working from the swab to the transport media to the laboratory to really get those tests run and the results back to the client. The next slide. So then we've looked into all of the testing capacity from those platforms, and this gives you an idea of what that capacity is. The darkest red that you can see, like in Texas and New York, those are states that have lots of different platforms, as you saw on the prior slide, and the ability, if you just add up the platforms and the potential for test, of over 1 million tests per month.
Đây là những cái bản đồ mà của những cái nước, những cái tiểu bang mà có những cái test, càng nhiều test, càng nhiều xét nghiệm thì càng màu đỏ.
Well, we're calling on the American Society of Microbiologists. They work closely with 300 lab directors around the country. We talked with them this morning, and the Walter Reed team, who developed the entire HIV testing program for the military 35 years ago, have called them back into service, and they're calling lab by lab to find out what are the technical difficulties to bring up all the platforms that exist in your lab. Is it swabs? Is it transport media? Is it extraction? And I just really want to thank them. They've already worked through over 70 plus of those laboratories to really understand, and the American Society of Microbiologists and the academic societies of the laboratories are working together to ensure that all of this potential can be unlocked. Next slide, please. We talked a little bit yesterday about New Orleans, and
Chúng ta đã nói chuyện về New Orleans ngày hôm qua rồi.
New Orleans has done during its outbreak, which you can see now is waning. They've done throughout the last month 27 tests per 1,000 New Orleans and
New Orleans là làm 27 cái xét nghiệm cho mỗi 1.000 người.
So that is a good mark, and that's what Italy has done about 20 per 1,000.
Bên nước Ý thì làm khoảng cỡ chừng 20 mà xét nghiệm cho mỗi 10.000 người. Nội cái New Orleans này không đã hơn nước Ý rồi.
27 tests per 1,000. So using that as a measure, next slide. We then looked across all the states of the United States of America and looked for states that had 30 or more.
Đây là cái bản đồ mà cho thấy là xét nghiệm mỗi tháng cho mỗi 1.000 người trong mỗi cái tiểu bang đó.
See that across the country, except for Oregon and Maine and Montana. I worked overseas way too long. Thank you all. So those are the three states that we're working on building capacity in.
Đây là có 3 cái tiểu bang là đậm nhất là xét nghiệm nhiều nhất từ 90 trên 90 ca mỗi tháng, mỗi ngày 10.000 người.
By geography, by address, by zip code, what their capacity is, what their cumulative capacity is, what their roadblocks are on not ability to run all their full capacity. And we're addressing those because each one of those is different, and you have to address each of them one by one with the governors, with the state and local labs, and with all of the hospitals. I have not come across one laboratory or one laboratory director or one society that doesn't want to contribute to solving this issue of testing and ensuring that this testing is available for everyone. There is a strong, just as all the Americans have social distanced in behind everyone. We don't often talk about the laboratories, we'll talk about the nurses and doctors on the front line. Behind all of them are the laboratory technicians and laboratory directors who are coming in every day and putting things together to ensure that every single person that needs to be diagnosed is diagnosed. And hopefully you can see from these these slides, that really there is capacity out there. It is our job working with the states and having the state in the leadership role and the laboratory directors in the leadership role to provide support to ensure that all the potential for testing in the United States is brought to bear. I just want to end with, these are nucleic acid tests. There will never be the ability on a nucleic acid test to do 300 million tests a day or to test everybody before they go to work or to school. But there might be with the antigen test. And so that's why there's a role for nucleic acid tests, there's a role for antibody tests, and there's a role for the future development of these other key tests to bring the full ability to the United States. And so when we finish this, we'll be talking to all Americans, because there's other tests that other Americans should have. And I think this has really brought to light the importance of diagnosis. And we'll talk to you further about hepatitis C and TB and other things that we can do to ensure every American is healthy, because I think this has really raised the awareness among all Americans about how you do tests for different kinds and different parts of your disease state, and what is long-lasting immunity and what may be long-lasting immunity, and what is a nucleic acid test and what an antigen test is. And with that, Admiral Gerard.
And let me amplify one point as the Admiral steps forward to conclude his remarks about our approach and the efforts we put underway. Governors across the country have been working very closely with us.
Ông nói rằng là các thống đốc của toàn quốc đang làm việc rất là sâu sát với chúng tôi.
All the information we presented to you is going to be reviewed in the days ahead with all of our governors. Our objective is to connect every one of America's.
Những cái thông tin mà tôi đưa cho quý vị là đã được bàn thảo với lại các thống đốc rồi.
But as Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci both described, we believe today that we have the capacity in the United States to do a sufficient amount of testing for states to move into phase 1.
Ông tin rằng là tất cả mọi tiểu bang đều sẽ có đủ xét nghiệm để mà có thể bắt đầu đi tiến tới cái bước 1 của việc mở lại đất nước. Bây giờ thì
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Thank you to all my really great colleagues. Can I have my next slide? So I wanted to start by where we are today.
Tôi muốn bắt đầu với những cái thời điểm chúng ta hiện nay là như thế nào.
As everyone on the stage has said before, our testing right now is well over 3.78 billion tests that have
Chúng ta bây giờ thì có trên 3.8 triệu xét nghiệm rồi.
1.2 million tests reported just in the last week. Ambassador Birx talked to me a little earlier, and she said, you know, we only do about 2 million molecular tests a year for HIV, something that's been developed for 35 years.
Trong suốt 35 năm qua thì chúng ta chỉ có xét nghiệm khoảng chừng 2 triệu xét nghiệm cho cái bệnh SIDA mỗi năm mà thôi, để mà so sánh với cái này. Tôi sẽ cho biết ý kiến là tại sao mà nó là màu xanh hay là màu xanh nhạt.
Because they are a point of care test that can be between 5 and 15 minutes. And they have a very specific role, but they're not for everybody. If you've got to screen a few thousand people, 4 tests an hour doesn't get you there on a machine. You have to use some of the larger, higher throughput items. But they have a very important role. And again, coming into the market at 50,000 per day is really an important adjunct to us. She talked about the gene expert from Cepheid. Very important. We don't talk about that very much, but it is one of the backbone mobile point of care. Not as easy to do, per se, as the Abbott, but it is a point of care test that really carries tuberculosis screening all through Africa. There are these machines. You saw that on her slide. Every one of the 50 states has this in over 600 sites, and they've done over 700,000 tests just on that relatively low throughput but very important platform. Next slide, please. I wanted to give you an idea sort of how the tests are distributed and how they're changing over time.
Những cái xét nghiệm được phân phối như thế nào và đã thay đổi như thế nào trong theo thời gian.
They're an absolutely critical core component of our testing. Not only were they there early and first, but they also do things like support outbreak investigations in nursing homes or investigations in certain plants that have a close proximity with everyone because of their work environments. They also do testing on many people who do not have the opportunity to be tested elsewhere, and they are performing outstandingly well. ACLA, I know we hate acronyms, but the American Clinical Laboratory Association.
Ông đang giải thích các cái loại xét nghiệm khác nhau đang được áp dụng. Những cái xét nghiệm này là những cái xét nghiệm được chuẩn thuận chứ không phải những cái xét nghiệm mà không được chuẩn thuận thì còn nhiều nữa ngoài kia.
The Bioreference Laboratory, Mayo, Sonic, and ARUP. And you'll see they've done almost 2.3 million tests. This is the very large high throughput machines that Dr. Birx talks about. And I want to be clear about this group is that it doesn't matter where you are. I just took one of the largest labs and I said, map out for me where you are within 10 miles of where you are, every site in the country. And when you do that, within 10 miles of a site of one of these, 93% of the U.S. population is covered. These are truly national reference labs that cover almost everybody within the United States. So if you cannot get a test at your hospital, the chances are overwhelming that you can send this to these labs that are fully caught up now. They have no backlog of tests. They've ramped up their production, so their turnaround time is about 48 hours because you may need to transport it from the middle of America out to a lab and result that. But that's really very, very, very good. The American Hospital Association, also academic labs. As the Vice President and the President have said, as more and more labs come online, they're increasing the amount of testing that are done just at the hospitals or at academic medical centers, now almost at 600,000 tests. And again, matching the other slide I had, the Abbott point-of-care test, just to give you a distribution. And that point-of-care test is being used very importantly in very select populations where a point-of-care test is really needed. That could be in some hospitals where someone needs to know exactly if a person is positive or not to go on a clinical trial, or in a nursing home investigation, or sometimes to get people screened to go back into the work environment. Most people don't need a point-of-care test. In fact, a point-of-care test cannot replace the millions of tests that are here on the other side. Next slide. I don't know how interested you are in swabs. I did not know a whole lot of swabs before.
Ông đang nói tới cái xét nghiệm mà theo kiểu mà cái cây bông gòn chọc vô lỗ mũi.
Yes, there have been constraining elements, and they're constrained for a couple reasons. Number one, because this is an unprecedented scale up of this type of very sophisticated molecular test that has never put a demand on the system like we have. When we started out a few weeks ago, there's very specific one type of swab, only get it one place in the US, one place in Italy. And we were stuck with that for a while because it's not just the quantity, it's the quality. What I don't want to do is put a lot of things in the system to make people believe that this is a good test when it hasn't been validated by the FDA to say that a positive is a positive and a negative is a negative. But over the past weeks, both the scientific community, the Gates Foundation, academic medical centers, the FDA, have really opened up our ability to not stick that all the way back in your nasopharynx, but do the anterior nose, and to greatly broaden the amount of swab types that are available. So we are really at a point right now that by the end of April, we'll put another 5 million swabs, in addition to everything that's out there now. And by the end of May, over 12 million new swabs in the system, more than enough to obtain the capacity that we need.
Cho tới cuối tháng 4 là sẽ đưa thêm khoảng 4 triệu kiểu xét nghiệm kiểu cái cây bông gòn chọc vào đó. Và cuối tháng 5 thì cuối tháng 5 là sẽ thêm 12 triệu xét nghiệm đó.
The CDC has a make your own recipe. If you're interested in cooking, you could probably do that. But it has a lot of ingredients that go in there, but still very limiting. We've worked with many different laboratories. We've worked with the FDA. So now PBS, phosphate buffered saline, a kind of just laboratory grade salt water can be used for this. This greatly opens the ability to expand the test to support all the capability that Dr. Birx talks about. And again, by the end of April, we will have put well over 5 million new tubes of either viral transport media or saline into the system. I am going to get to a conclusion here.
Tôi sẽ kết luận ở đây.
More of a technical briefing. Next slide. So, let's talk about the fact that the science tells us that we have and will continue to have enough tests to safely go into phase 1.
Các nhà khoa học nói với chúng ta là chúng ta sẽ có đủ xét nghiệm để mà có thể đưa nước Mỹ quay trở lại hoạt động vào cái giai đoạn 1. Không có thể nào mà xét nghiệm được tất cả mọi người dân nước Mỹ và mỗi ngày được cả. Chuyện đó không thể.
Or that he contacts that. That's not the way we go about things. The way we go about things is, as Dr. Redfield said, just think of the weather radar. Okay, if the weather radar is clear, you're not going to have a thunderstorm or tornado. When something pops up, that's when you've got to go to where the action is or know that your warning system is up. So sort of think of that in the background, and I'll go specifically about that. So that's monitoring. Let me talk about how much testing we need just for overall testing. I'm just going to give you a number. I'm not saying that this is a number that's there, but let's just take a number that we are going to enter phase one when there are 200,000 new cases per month in the United States. Don't get hung up on that. It's going to be much less than that, but let's just say 200,000 cases. So
cho rằng là sẽ có 200.000 ca
200,000 people to make the diagnosis, right? Somebody nod your head about that.
ca nhiễm khi chúng ta bước đầu vào giai đoạn 1
Now, what's a
đi.
safe number over that? You know, if everybody I test has the disease, I'm not testing enough, right? But if I test 100 people to have one person with the disease, that's probably over-testing.
Okay.
So we kind of assume that a safe number that really gives us a good idea is if about 1 out of 10 people are positive, then we know we're oversampling the population enough that we're getting all the positives. So if there's 200,000 cases, I need about 2 million tests, okay? Now, to go to Dr. Redfield's point.
Ông nói về những cái con thuật số cũng đơn giản thôi, nhưng mà
And on average, the CDC tells me that for every positive, there are about 5 contacts that really need to be traced. So let's assume that those 200,000 people have 5 contacts. So now we have an extra million tests. So 2 million tests out there to detect the 200,000 cases, an extra million out there to trace those contacts. So we're up to about 3 million cases. If you want to put a fudge factor, say that's 4 million tests, okay? Those are generally done at the main hospital labs, the commercial labs, state and regional labs. All this can be done, as well as some of the labs talked about by Dr. Burks. Next slide.
ông nói tới khoảng 4 triệu xét nghiệm mỗi tháng.
Fits exactly perfectly with the influenza-like surveillance system that Dr. Redfield talked about. This is the monitoring. This is sort of the radar, the weather radar that it would be out there. That we're not testing people who are symptomatic. We want to do testing on people who are asymptomatic, because you can have asymptomatic carriage. You know, you could have this virus and shed it and not have symptoms or only mild symptoms. So what is the strategy here? The strategy here, this is an unprecedented strategy, okay? This is really unprecedented. But we're going to do between 300,000 and 500,000 tests per week in the most vulnerable populations that we know that the virus could circulate. And what are they? Number one, nursing home and long-term care facilities.
Anh nói là có khoảng cỡ chừng 300 tới 500.000 xét nghiệm mỗi tháng, mà sẽ tập trung vào những cái nơi, thí dụ như những nơi như là người già, những nơi mà có những người mà có thể lây nhiễm ở trong các thành phố, vân vân.
Surveys over, we may not get to everyone, but surveying in the areas to cover in a selective way the 15,000 or so nursing homes. Secondly, we want to work in vulnerable members in cities. And this is the way we think about that is community health centers. I'm a huge fan of community health centers that are led by HRSA. There are about 30,000 community health center sites. They take care of 30 million people, children, adults, elderly. They care for about 1/3 of Americans below the poverty level. They are arrayed to take care of our most vulnerable populations. So we want to survey asymptomatic people in those community health centers.
Có 35.000 cái trung tâm lo lắng cho khoảng cỡ chừng 20 triệu người dân nghèo ở Mỹ, và chúng tôi muốn tập trung để ý vào những cái nơi đó, những nơi mà cho rằng là có thể là có dễ khả năng gây lây nhiễm đó.
That may have very close contact or may have a high risk, and some of those could be agricultural facilities. So let's just total that up. We have 200,000 people who need a diagnosis. To make that diagnosis, we want to test 2 million. Okay, so that's 2 million. We're going to contact trace with 1 million. And let's just throw you a fudge factor of about 25% on that, so that's 4 million. And we have this background testing of about 400,000 per month. So to safely do the testing, we need to be in the range of 4.5 million. You followed my numbers, so I want you to understand per month. That, pardon me? For phase one, right? For phase one. And I want to tell you that's really how it adds up, and that's where we are. Right now, we're doing about 1 million to 1.2 million per week. We are going to continue to push that further and further as we open up the laboratories and we're able to open all the supplies that we need for that. And I think that's where I would like to.
Ông tính toán qua lại thì ông nói là để mà có thể mở cửa an toàn một cách yên tâm cho cái giai đoạn 1 thì có khoảng cần khoảng chừng 4.5 triệu xét nghiệm, và nước Mỹ sẵn sàng có chuyện đó. 4.5 triệu mỗi tháng xét nghiệm. Con số này thì không thể nào có cái nước nào mà có được.
That's a great question, and what we will be doing is monitoring how much we have to use in phase 1 to really help inform phase 2.
Chúng tôi phải nghiên cứu, phải theo dõi coi cái giai đoạn 1 nó phải ra thế nào rồi mới qua giai đoạn 2 được.
So if we find that there's a lot of asymptomatic individuals that we find in this active monitoring in what we are very much concerned about, the most vulnerable, then we will have to have increased testing to cover all of those sites.
And as we made clear to the governors and other health officials, we're going to continue to scale the testing. As the President's made clear, we want governors and states to manage the testing operations.
Như là Tổng thống đã nói là ông muốn mọi tiểu bang quản lý về cái vấn đề này.
But in the midst of that, all these great experts working with all these great facilities are going to continue to use that great American ingenuity to scale and increase the availability of testing for states to be able to implement as they move closer and closer to that day the President speaks of often, where we reopen America and put all of America back to work.
Bây giờ ông Tổng thống ông mới trở lại, nãy giờ ông tránh, bây giờ quay trở lại để mà trả lời câu hỏi báo chí.
Said your tweets encouraging liberation in Michigan, Minnesota, Virginia were fomenting rebellion. Wondering how that squares with the sober and methodical guidance that you issued yesterday.
Well, I think we do have a sobering guidance, but I think some things are too tough. And if you look at some of the states you just mentioned, it's too tough, not only relative to this, but what they've done in Virginia with respect to the Second Amendment is just a horrible thing. They did a horrible thing, the governor. And he's a governor under a cloud to start off with. So when you see what he said about the Second Amendment, when you see what other states have done, I think I feel very comfortable. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to be clear, when you talk about these states, Michigan, Minnesota, Virginia, do you think that they should lift their stay-at-home orders, or can you talk sort of
but I think elements of what they've done are too much. I mean, it's just too much. You know the elements because I've already said, but certainly a Second Amendment having to do with the state of Virginia, what they've done in Virginia is just incredible. Okay, please.
Sir, are you concerned, though, that people coming out in protest are going to spread COVID to other people? They're congregating in ways that health experts have said they should not.
Ông có lo lắng rằng là những người đi ra biểu tình chống lại những cái lệnh cách ly đó là sẽ lây bệnh cho những người khác kia hay không? Những người tới giữ an toàn chẳng hạn.
So as you've mentioned, we have states where we're already seeing their curves begin to flatten, but then there are others like Florida or more rural parts of the country where they aren't projected to peak for weeks or even months. So can you talk a little bit about some of the difficulties that those later peaking states might face if they need to stay locked down longer, even as other places around them are starting to open back up?
Cô này hỏi là những tiểu bang thì mở ra, còn những tiểu bang thì vẫn còn cao thì sẽ gặp khó khăn thì sao?
That means that you have fewer people that are sick, fewer people that feel they have to go to a hospital, and those numbers are dropping really precipitously. So I think that we're just seeing a lot of good signs. Now, a place like New York, New Jersey, and certain parts of Louisiana has been incredible lately when you look at that drop.
Chúng ta thấy có nhiều cái tiến bộ là như là New York, New Jersey, rồi bây giờ Louisiana nữa, thấy bắt đầu nó đi xuống rồi.
So I just think Illinois is another one. You know, you look at some of the numbers.
Illinois chẳng hạn.
Everyone is dropping, and they're dropping rather.
Mọi nơi đều xuống cả.
Hotspot that's developed where all of a sudden you say, well,
mọi nơi đều cái dịch cái bệnh dịch nó đang đi xuống cả, con số nó đều xuống.
Where incredibly we had some, you saw the number was rather incredible. It took place in that plant. People could ask about that. I wonder who owned that company. It was a weird situation, but generally speaking, it's been very good. The numbers have been really improving greatly. Please, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Mr. President. U.S. intelligence is saying this week that the coronavirus likely came from a level 4 lab in Wuhan. There's also another report that the NIH, under the Obama administration in 2015, gave that lab $3.7 million in a grant. Why would the U.S. give a grant like that to China?
Câu này câu hỏi là coi như là chính phủ bây giờ là đang điều tra là có phải là bên Vũ Hán cái lọc phòng ráo hay không, và chính phủ đã từng cho một cái số tiền để mà cho họ. Bây giờ tại sao lại phải cho một cái nơi như vậy?
We're going to look at it and take a look, but I understand it was a number of years ago.
So you are.
When did you hear was the grant was made?
2015.
2015.
2000.
President then, I wonder.
Cô nói là ông hỏi là ông nói là cái số tiền đó đã được cho trước đây rồi, chúng ta sẽ điều tra về số tiền đó. Ông hỏi lại là năm nào, cô nói 2015 thì ông nói là 2015 thì ông tổng thống nào thì rõ ràng rồi.
Well, I think it will certainly, it's going to get us to a point that's going to be rather beautiful. We think that will be the point, and it could be they want more, but maybe at a certain point we're going to stop. It's been a tremendous success. It's been executed flawlessly. SBA's done a very good job, but the banks have done a great job, whether it was Bank of America or Wells Fargo.
Ông đang nói tới các nhà băng đang làm những cái mà cho mượn nợ nó cách rất là tuyệt.
4,000 community banks. A lot of people didn't know you had that many banks. But 4,000 community banks, they gave the money out.
4.000 cái nhà băng cộng đồng đang bắt đầu đang xuất tiền ra.
$250 billion. The Democrats are refusing to do it. This is money that essentially is going to the workers. It's going to keep these companies whole.
Đây là những số tiền cho mượn nhưng mà cho đưa về cho tới những người mà cần thiết. Người làm việc.
Relative to what it represents, because it represents small businesses, it represents them staying in business. You know, when you look at it, people don't know. Small businesses represent approximately 50% of the power of our business enterprises.
Những cơ sở thương mại nhỏ là con số là 50% toàn cái nền kinh tế của chúng ta.
Follow up on that. Nearly 10% of the loans that were given out were for $5 million, but some small business owners say they can't even get a loan for $100,000. Is that acceptable?
Well, they would, no, they would get that.
Mới có những cơ sở thương mại chỉ có 100.000 mà còn chưa mượn xong nữa mà sao mà chấp nhận được?
It's been a tremendous success as a program. People they really want it, and some people won't be able to get there and keep their business open unless they get that money. It's been a tremendous success. It's been executed flawlessly. It's been,
cái chương trình này thì nó đang được thực hiện một cách rất tốt đẹp, không có bị vấn đề gì cả.
And she should come back. She should come back and get this done. I don't know why she's not coming back. The fact is, she's not doing her job, and there's nothing unusual about that for her.
McCarthy said they're now considering also adding more funding for hospitals, including
So they are thinking about hospitals and hospitals.
Sẽ thêm ngân sách cho các nhà thương này nọ không?
They've given up their business, which is good because they did the right thing in order to take care of the COVID-19. And no hospitals, I'm with that all the way. If they want to add hospitals, we could also add it into phase 4. If we do a phase 4 would be hopefully infrastructure.
Hy vọng là chúng ta sẽ đi tới cái giai đoạn 4, tức là sẽ xây dựng lại nhiều cái cơ sở hạ tầng lắm.
I've been suggesting a lot of Democrats like it, believe it or not, the payroll tax cut. And Art Laffer, who's tremendous, he's a tremendous, in fact, he recently got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Economist, he was with Ronald Reagan, and he looks like he's 25 years old, but I think he might be a little bit older than that. He looks so great. But Art Laffer said the single best thing you can do is the payroll tax cut. And I would just about agree with that, and I'd like to see that. I'm not sure that we're going to get that, but I think that's something that could be done. It's simple, it's really good for both the company that employs these people and for the people that are employed. So we're going to see whether that happens or not. The payroll.
Bạn Đình Nam Hoàng hỏi là đang trực tiếp hả? Đúng rồi thưa bạn. Đây là cuộc họp báo gần như là hàng ngày ở Nhà Trắng hiện nay.
Well, you know, when I listen to the press every night saying we have the most, we don't have the most in the world deaths. The most in the world has to be China.
Ông nói rằng nghe hàng ngày là nói là chúng ta có nhiều người chết nhất. Tôi không tin là như vậy. Người chết nhiều nhất phải là bên China, bên Trung Quốc. Hôm nay thì họ nhân đôi của họ rồi đó. Nó thật là đáng buồn cho cái tình trạng như thế.
It seems to make sense. They talk about a certain kind of bat, but that bat wasn't in that area. If you can believe this, that's what they're down to now is bats. But that bat is not in that area. That bat wasn't sold in that wet zone. It wasn't sold there. That bat is 40 miles away. So a lot of strange things are happening.
Ông nói là có rất là nhiều chuyện mà gọi là lạ lùng khó hiểu. Con dơi, ông nói tới con dơi thì nó tuốt ở đầu xa mà 40 mai cách đó mà.
Whatever form, 184 countries now are suffering.
184 nước bây giờ là đang khốn khổ.
And it's too bad, isn't it? And it could have been solved very easily. When it was just starting, it could have been solved really very easily.
Rất là đáng tiếc là đáng lẽ ra nó được phải giải quyết một cách dễ dàng khi mà nó bắt đầu. Ý ông muốn nói là Trung Quốc nó không có cho biết đó.
Well, I'm just saying it's less than 1%, and the snafus are very minor, and they were fixed. No, excuse me. No, they were 80 million payments went out over a period of a few days, and they caught certain mistakes that they made, but this is a tiny amount of mistakes. I can tell you mistakes were made in government where wrong countries were signed, okay? 80 million. This has been a tremendous success, and any mistake that was made, they've been caught, and it's less than 1%. That's a very good percentage, I can tell you, for government. I mean, how about the Obama website, the Obamacare website, where they spent $5 billion on building a website that you could have built for peanuts? Okay.
If money went out to deceased people, the government can get that back.
Yeah, anything that was sent out. It's like sometimes you send a check to somebody wrong. Sometimes.
Ông này hỏi là nếu mà có những cái check mà cái chi phiếu mà giúp đỡ đó mà đưa tới người chết thì sao? Thì có phải trả lại không? Nó có cái chuyện đó. Nó rất là nhỏ thôi. Nhỏ thôi nhưng mà gửi ra sai người là phải được hoàn lại.
It's great for the country. It's great spirit. It's great for a lot of things. To me, it's a tremendous way of getting the word out. If you look at our success rate, we've had tremendous success. We win where we have rallies, including endorsements of candidates. Our success rate is, I think, unparalleled. There's nothing like it. So I certainly hope we can have rallies. We'll find out. I don't like the rallies where we're sitting like you're sitting. I mean, you got many reporters.
Con này hỏi tới những cái buổi mà gọi là vận động tranh cử trong tương lai thì sao? Ông nói phải hy vọng là sẽ xảy ra chứ không mà tôi không muốn nó phải ngọt cái kiểu mà rally mà ít như thế này.
I will say this: the rallies that we're having until we had to stop with regard to the problem that we had here. The rallies were bigger than they were, I think even substantially bigger. We go to the biggest arena and we turn away 20, 30,000 people sometimes. And in one case, I think they said in New Jersey, we had 175,000 people show up for an arena that was 9,000.
Hàng mấy trăm ngàn người mỗi lần mà tổ chức như vậy là hàng mấy trăm người tới tham dự không à? Những cái buổi mà vận động tranh cử của ông ấy. Tôi hy vọng là sẽ làm lại được những chuyện như vậy.
not reopen until phase 2. Many parents don't have an option to work from home. So how can you get businesses back up and running as long as schools are closed?
Well, I think the businesses are going to, and I think now we've given the businesses
Câu hỏi là cái giai đoạn 2 thì bảo là trẻ con đi học, trẻ con thì ở nhà nhưng mà business mở thì nhiều người bố mẹ làm sao có thể làm được như vậy khi mà con cái nó còn ở nhà.
So we gave them money to hold their employees. They're going to do that. We hope we can do $250 billion more. It's absolutely so inexpensive compared to what it represents, and we hope that's going to happen. But I really think, look, you see it with the stock market. The market was up 700 or 800 points today.
Cứ hãy nhìn lại cái thị trường chứng khoán đi, bây giờ bắt đầu đã tăng trở lại rồi, 700-800 điểm ngày hôm nay rồi. Cái kiểu này chưa bao giờ xảy ra ở cái tình trạng này chưa thấy bao giờ xảy ra từ tính năm 1917.
And it's starting to get a little low, you know, then you had a 1,000-point increase and a 1,200-point increase. So now we have a stock market that's at a point where it's not very far away from where it was, and we've gone through a closed, literally a closed country. Remember this also. I mean, we have had a closed economy. We had the best economy anywhere in the world by far. We had the best economy we've ever had. And remember this, the dollar is very strong.
Tiền đồng đô la vẫn còn rất là mạnh.
Overall very good. But it does cause problems. It's harder to sell outside of the country, etc., etc. It's a little harder for manufacturers. Sometimes it's a lot harder. Everybody wants to invest in our country.
Tất cả mọi người đều muốn đầu tư vào đất nước của chúng ta. Bây giờ cái tiền lãi thì số 0 là gần như là không có bây giờ trước đây.
I guess more than a 700-point increase, and we're at a point which is, you know, it's not what it was, but it's not that far off. I would have told you that's got to be an impossibility. The reason that is because there is a great pent-up demand. This country is going to come back, and it's going to come back strong. We have to get rid of the virus.
Đất nước này sẽ quay trở lại. Chúng ta sẽ mở lại một cách từ từ.
And everything, because you don't want to have people pouring through the border of a state that isn't infected, and you have people coming perhaps outside. That's one of the reasons I was asking Tony 2 days ago about masks. Well, why in Wyoming or Montana would they have to wear masks? The numbers are very good. The reason if somebody comes from outside, you know, which is very severe, but it's again, and it's going to be up to them. It's a recommendation. We'll see. But if you would have told me how well we're doing after we went through the worst event of its kind since 1917, it's pretty amazing. Question.
Mr. President, about child care, though, millions of Americans aren't sure how they can go back to work if schools are closed. How can they have their kids taken care of?
Cô này hỏi lại câu hỏi của cổ.
In addition to helping employees stay employed.
Làm sao mà có thể là quay trở lại đi làm nếu mà người bố mẹ thì đi làm mà con cái thì trường còn chưa có mở để mà đi học.
And we do have to take care of our seniors because we've learned a lot about this disease. We've learned, call it a disease. We've learned a lot about this plague. And we have to take care of our seniors. We're going to take care of a lot of people. But I think the schools are going to be open sooner rather than later.
Tôi nghĩ là trường học cũng sẽ phải mở lại sớm thôi.
Thinking about getting the schools open. I have a young boy who goes to school. I'd like to see him go to school.
Tôi cũng có đứa con nhỏ, tôi cũng muốn cho nó đi học mà.
Would like to see him go to school, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with that point. I would like to know about some of these areas that you'd like to open up some of these quadrants. You singled out Virginia, Michigan. They don't have a decline in cases yet. Yet you tweeted out today that you'd like to liberate them.
Well, they're going to have soon, but they're very, what they've done is very powerful in terms of, I think, you know, you could get the same result out of doing a little bit less. What they've done to some people is very unfair.
Khi cái người phóng viên này hỏi tới là ông đã nói tới Virginia và Michigan mở cửa, nhưng mà những cái nơi đó vẫn còn rất là đông mà, có rất là đông người nhiễm mà.
You have a governor who really, I guess he should be under siege. He seems not to be. If he were a Republican, he'd be under siege. but he seems to have escaped something that was pretty bad, including what he said about birth, including what he said about many different things. But he wants to take, if you take a look at what's going on in Virginia, they want to take away Second Amendment rights, and that's what they want to do.
Ông nói tới rằng là ở Virginia cái chính quyền đã đòi gọi là lấy đi cái quyền tu chính án thứ hai là của người ta là không được. Quyền mang súng.
We're watching very closely. If we see something happening bad that we think is wrong, we're going to come down very strong on that. Very, very strong. The federal government has a lot to say. We have a lot to say beyond what anyone understands. And we think, and I've gotten to know many of the governors, many Democrats too, Republicans, and I knew the Republicans, I knew some of the Democrats, but I got to know a lot of them. I think it's going to be in the hands of a lot of good people. I think a lot of good people are looking at this and they want to do what's right, Steve.
Vice President is traveling soon, and I think tomorrow to Colorado. When are you going to be in a position to travel again?
Ông nói là ông Mike, ông phó tổng thống sắp hoặc là đã đi Colorado. Còn ông thì bao giờ ông mới có thể là di chuyển lại trở lại?
As it left Virginia, it got out of dry dock, it got out of maintenance very early. It was supposed to be there for 4 weeks. It was there for a few days. Literally, we got it up to New York. I mean, they didn't need it like. Well, I wouldn't say we hoped. I'm glad they didn't need it. They didn't need it. That was a good thing. They didn't need the convention center, 2,500 beds, or depending on your definition, 2,900. We ultimately converted it to COVID. The Army Corps.
Ông đang nói tới cái tình trạng New York.
The job they did was incredible.
Cái tàu mà ông đưa tới chưa cần tới, mà cái bệnh viện mà xây 2.500 giường không cần tới ở New York.
It's there now. It's ready. We converted it to COVID. It wasn't supposed to be for that. The request of, frankly, our side. Then ultimately we converted it, but there is much less demand. That's such a good thing. I mean, I'm not complaining about that. I think it's a great. That means New York's making progress.
Ông nói ngày mai ông phó tổng thống sẽ đi đâu?
I think he's going to the Air Force to make the commencement. Oh, I think it's great. I think it's great. If he's going to make the commencement, I hear they're going to have a very spread out crowd. They're going to be, I will say, they are going to be socially very good. They're going to be very far apart.
Ngày mai ông tổng thống sẽ đi có một cái buổi commencement, buổi lễ ra trường. Ở đâu đó và người ta sẽ đứng là cách xa nhau lắm.
Which I look forward to. I did it last year at Air Force. I did it at Annapolis. I did it at the Coast Guard Academy, and I'm doing it at West Point. And I assume they've got it, and I understand they'll have distancing. They'll have some big distances.
Tôi thì sẽ đi ra tới trường West Point. Hy vọng họ sẽ sẽ thực tập cái cách mà gọi là đứng xa nhau, cách giãn xã hội.
When people like this, our great admiral has done such a great job. When he graduated from where he graduated, me too, we're nice and tight. And that's going to happen again. I don't want people to think that this is going to be like this forever. But
tôi muốn mọi người nghĩ rằng là sẽ không phải là như thế này mãi mãi đâu, nó sẽ quay trở lại bình thường.
But eventually, as this virus goes away, it's going to be better and better. Director, it's going to be better and better. And
khi mà con virus sẽ đi chỗ khác thì nó sẽ tốt hơn, cần từ từ tốt hơn. Ý ông nói là mọi người sẽ không cần phải cách giãn xã hội nữa.
Now, if I do what they want me to do, I'll be down to 25 seats. And I can't. I said, yeah, but you're not going to be there forever. And he didn't really know that. He thought that they were going to take 150 seats, move it down to 25 to 50 seats, depending on the way he laid it out. He said, don't worry about it. Eventually, you're going to be back to the.
Ông nói có một cái người mà chủ nhà hàng nói chuyện với ông đó là tôi 150 chỗ đã làm ăn không nổi rồi, bây giờ người ta còn phải xuống tới còn 20 chỗ để cách giãn xã hội nữa thì làm sao sống nổi. Ông nói rằng là cái chuyện đó không lo, cái đó phải là thời gian sau nó sẽ khác chứ không phải là như vậy mãi mãi.
I said a certain industry will be out of business, never happen again. 2 weeks later, it was like nothing ever happened. Hopefully, We get rid of this. We have tremendous talent up here.
Hy vọng là chúng ta sẽ loại trừ được cái chuyện này. Chúng ta có một đống người gọi là tài năng ở đây.
State governments. I look forward to the time, to me, when we can really normalize.
Tôi rất là trông đợi cái ngày trở lại mà mọi thứ đều quay trở lại bình thường.
Mr. President, some of your allies are calling for China to be stripped as host of the 2022 Olympics. Wondering what you make of that. Is that something that you would consider, or?
Một trong những cái liên minh của ông đã gọi và muốn đề nghị ông Trung Quốc sẽ cái gì năm 2022 là Olympic ở Trung Quốc. Ông nghĩ sao? Tôi muốn nhìn thấy China như thế nào? Có phải làm có cam kết gì không? Tôi không có hài lòng.
And I spoke to them, and this could have been shut down a long time ago. They knew it, and we couldn't get in, and in all fairness, World Health couldn't get in, and that's why I wish they took a different stance. They took a very pathetic stance and a very weak stance, but they say they couldn't get in. But ultimately they got in much sooner than anybody, but they didn't report what was happening. They didn't report what was happening inside of China. No, I'm not happy with China.
Tôi không hài lòng với China tí nào.
Dr. Fauci, can you address these suggestions or concerns that this virus was somehow man-made?
Ông có nghĩ rằng là cái này là do cho con người làm ra ở một cái lab ở China hay không? Có những cái nghiên cứu sẽ gửi cho quý vị.
The sequences there, and the sequences in bats as they evolve, and the mutations that it took to get to the point where it is now is totally consistent with a jump of a species from an animal to a human. So,
nghiên cứu cho thấy.
The paper will be available. I don't have the authors right now, but we can make that available too.
Nghiên cứu cho thấy là này nó đi từ con vật ra con người một cách rất là rõ ràng.
Does that concern you though as a health expert when you see folks congregate, and are you worried if that's encouraged?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it from a public health standpoint. I certainly can understand the frustration of people, but my main role in the task force is to make recommendations to protect the health and the safety of the American people. And I would hope that people understand that that's the reason why we're doing what we're doing, and hopefully we'll put an end to this. I will say this, I'm very, very satisfied with the decision we made, listening to experts, listening to my gut, the feeling of the Vice President, and really many others. When we put it all together, look, if we didn't do what we did at the time, we could have lost more than 2 million people.
Nếu mà chúng ta đã không làm những cái gì ngay từ ban đầu mà chúng ta đã làm thì là chúng ta còn chết nhiều người hơn nữa, cả hàng triệu người rồi á.
And I would show it to you right now. I don't want to embarrass anybody, but they gave that a shot. It's an automatic. I mean, everybody would say, let's do that, until they sit down and start thinking. And we could have lost more than 2 million people. We could have lost more than 2 million. It could have been much more than that, by the way. We have one that says from 1.6 to 2.2, but it could have really been more than that. But I looked at one country in particular, that is using the herd mentality, not working out very well. Now, with all of that being said, we have to get back to work. We'll be crossing lines very soon.
Chúng tôi mà không làm những cái điều mà ngay từ đầu làm thì nó có thể là chết nhiều hơn rồi, từ cỡ 2 triệu mấy người rồi đó. Và so sánh với một cái nước mà họ không muốn nói tên ra, hình như là nước Anh đó, thì họ muốn tính làm cái lây nhiễm bầy đàn, thì cái chuyện đó đã không gây lây nhiễm cộng đồng bầy đàn vậy đó. Chuyện đó nó không có kết quả tốt.
At some of the New York numbers are starting to get, they've been devastated, obviously, but some really good things are starting.
Tôi nhìn thấy ngay cả New York là cái nơi mà gọi là thảm thê nhất, bây giờ họ cũng đã bắt đầu tốt lại rồi.
First of all, would not have been sustainable. You would have had people, they would have been furious at you and me and everybody up here. It would not have been sustainable. Because you look at some of the hospitals as an example, a certain hospital right near where I grew up in Queens. and you had body bags all over the floor of that hospital. You know the one I'm talking about. All over the floor of the hospital. Now multiply that times 12 or 15, because that's the kind of numbers you're talking about, 12 or 15. And it would not have been allowed. There would have been an insurrection. Nobody would have understood that. Whereas right now, nobody can be blamed, and there is no blame. We're all in a situation that was caused, that should have been solved long ago. It could have been solved probably very easily. Look, it's a tough enemy, but probably very easily if a certain country did what they should have done.
Ok.
And we're just starting to learn those
Ông nói rằng lẽ ra cái chuyện này là đã được giải quyết, không đến nỗi gọi là như thế ngay từ đầu. Nếu mà một cái nước nào đó là lẽ ra là làm những cái điều mà họ cần làm ngay từ đầu. Ông không có nhấn mạnh tên Trung Quốc nữa.
They'll be able to look at that, you know, where the testing is taking place. We're going to help them with the testing. We've developed some tremendous tests over the last little while, and we're going to work with the states, and we're going to help them. But they know every inch of land in their states. I watched the governor of Arkansas, Asa. You saw that. I thought he was terrific. I watched the governor of Oklahoma over the weekend being interviewed. He was terrific. They've done it a little bit differently, and they've done it tight, and they've done it strong, and they were very.
Các thống đốc của các bang Oklahoma đó là bây giờ đang làm rất tốt.
But I've seen some very, very good things, and I think you're going to have some very positive events taking place over a very short period of time. And I think with that, we'll see you tomorrow. But really, this has been.
Chúng tôi sẽ gặp gỡ với quý vị ngày mai. Các ông muốn kết thúc cái buổi hôm nay. Xin cảm ơn mọi người. Bây giờ thì cuộc này nó cũng phải chấm dứt. Xin chào mọi người, chúng ta sẽ gặp lại vào những cái lần họp báo khác của Nhà Trắng, có lẽ là ngày mai, như là ông Tổng thống vừa mới nói.